want to do it and everything, we might be able to do this together, and we could actually get everything so it gelled, and everybody knew where the song was going.
Yeah.
How about a simple idea of understanding an arrangement for a song? We're going to know when it begins, and we're going to know when it ends. One of those crazy ideas. So anyway, he came then, after we had done those two things, to hear us play.
Yeah. Down at Tony Mark's?
No, then we were playing in Toronto,
Okay.
and he came up there and heard us play. And so he said, all right, great, let's do this. And then after that night, he stayed when the club closed, and we ran over some of his songs, and he said, oh, man, that's great, and I was still like, it ain't great that quick. It takes time, and everything. So then we went out into the world with this thing, premature. It was still like, this takes time, and we were used to honing our skills and having a deeper understanding of the music. But this needed to be done, and it was a tour booked and everything, and it was a tour of all over North America, Australia, and Europe. So it was like, we're in this thing, and we got to figure out how to make this musically work for all of us. So rather than rehearsing like what people usually do, we went out and experimented in front of audiences. And I'll be doggone if they didn't boo and throw shit. And some people were offended. I thought it was understandable. I don't know if you should, throw stuff, but the booing, we should get our stuff together. And then I'm thinking, and then you wouldn't boo. Then you'd have no reason to boo, right? But that wasn't the case. It was a ritual. So every place that we played in North America, every major city in Australia, every major city in Europe, every night we would go out there and they would boo us. Every night, everywhere. But after we did the American leg of it, Levon said, I don't like this. He said, this is not what I would have been working for. He said, I'm going to take off. And I was shocked, that I said, I know, but but he didn't like the music. He didn't like nothing about it. And I couldn't convince him otherwise. So anyway, we got another drummer and we finished the whole tour, but everywhere we went, we thought, we're going so far away now. People's never heard of nothing. We're going to Perth, Australia, right? It's the other side of Australia. Nothing up. We got to Perth and they booed. and so then you're doing this. You're working on this thing every day. And I'm really trying to make this better. And so after we would play a concert, not a lot of people want to come out and hang out with people that they've been booing. So we had some time. We would go, and they were filming some of this. And they would record the shows on this little Nagra tape recorder in mono. And we'd go back to the hotel and listen to this. And I started to really recognize when it really did start to get better, and that this whole thing that we were messing around with was starting to actually completely make sense, in its music, in the musicality of the folk world and where we were coming from. You could really see this thing blended together in a beautiful way. And that was the saving grace, because, after a while, and in the meantime, after these shows too, the people would walk by Bob and they would kind of go, "We're going to get rid of these guys." You know, it was like they're ruining everything. They're ruining your career. Get rid of these guys. And he didn't budge. And it's something to this day that I feel very proud of him in this thing, because there was no indications, you know, that this was really going to work out to be a special thing, other than being either hard-headed or having a belief in this thing. But I would say to him, "You see what's happening here? That's it. That's what we've been looking for." And then he would see what I was talking about, and the understanding of what this thing was growing into was becoming clearer along the way. It wasn't just improvising, people just flailing along behind all these words. You know, it really started to have dynamics and build, and then go down quietly and do all of this kind of stuff that was very musical. So there was a point in that tour where we were able to say with confidence, "I don't care what anybody thinks. This is getting good, and we can be proud of this." And then by the time we did the tour in Europe, when we got there, we were feeling, okay, if you don't get it, you know, you don't get it. So we did the rest of the tour. And then after we did that, he wanted to do another one very soon, but that's when he had his accident. And we didn't do that. So here, the punchline to this is that years after that, we did another tour together, but by then the band had made records and everything.
Rock of Ages?
No, this was the Bob Dylan, the band / the band tour of 1974. And then, so we went and we did this tour, and it was a big thing here, and we did the exact same thing as we did when everybody was booing us. And now, everybody acted like, "No, I knew it all along. This was the shit, and I was there, and I was behind it," and it wasn't true. It wasn't true. And the feeling of, we didn't change a thing. The world changed. The world revolved and accepted this thing that we're doing now. And to feel like you won this battle, whatever that crazy battle even is, that we came out the other end of this thing, proving that the point, the musical, all it was a musical point, you know.
The albums, the first couple of band albums were beyond good. They're masterpieces. They're unique in their sound, in their point of view, in their instrumentation, songwriting. And I can't say enough about how unique those records were for the time, even for today. How did that sound coalesce? I mean, there was nothing like that being played or heard in 1968, 1969, what we were doing. And there was nobody that looked like you guys. I mean, this was the age of the counterculture. Just walking around with long hair, hippies, beads, vest, build. You guys look like farmers from New York State, you know? I mean, it was almost like iconoclastic. You had simply rejected everything that was going on in the late 60s and said, we're dropping out, going to this big pink house in the middle of nowhere, and we're creating this music that has nothing to do with anything that's going on in 68 and 69. But this is what we do. I to this day, I mean, those are two of my favorite records, Big Pink and the band, of all time. And I can listen to those records today and still find little musical nuances that I've never heard before. I listened to them 5,000 times. How do you account for that? How did that happen, that uniqueness happen in such a powerful musical time as the late 1960s?
Well, that was one of the points right there, that there was a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah.
And people kept raising the bar. And things, you know, people were doing stuff that made you feel like, well, if I'm going to do something, I better do something here. This is no messing around. So at the same time, I'm thinking, we've been together. We're making our first LP, and we've been together for 7 years, honing our skill, the workshop thing, picking up musicalities everywhere we went along the roads, and we had traveled many a road, and we were musically curious and musically inclined people, everybody in this group. We picked these people individually, you know, over a period of time for very musical reasons. So, and with Ronnie Hawkins, you know, doing this, Levon and I convinced Ronnie, we got to get this guy, get rid of the, you know, until it was these particular guys. So with 7 years behind us, we couldn't get silly. We couldn't get trendy. We, you know, and what we liked was stuff that had a lifespan to it, that had a timeless quality to it in the music that we listened to. And we listened to stuff, if it was new stuff, we knew that it would still be great, you know, in 30 years if you listen to this, because it's that good, it's that honest musically. So at this point, when we are making this record of, you know, Big Pink, we are gathering all of these pieces of music that we got from the side of the road over these years, and we're pulling them all together, and not talking about it, not saying, let's pull the music that we know. It was just a natural procedure, and the depth that we were looking for, and the type of storytelling. All of these things had the opportunity to, you know, to be seasoned in a way that when we were doing stuff, when we were writing and when we were working on music, we would just feel that it had years and years of, you know, being in a wine cave or something, and gathering this, you know. So when we did what you were talking about, when we did music from Big